Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Office Bloke Daz.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
Here we are, the two of us today.
Here we are, yeah.
Patreon your thing. Check out the link in the description below. There's absolutely loads of stuff on there. Starts for a bargain price of just
£1.50 a month.
Yeah, one of the tiers you get to do requests, which this is.
Yeah, it is indeed. This is for Amanda Arford. Thanks for your support, Amanda. Much appreciated.
This is
right. We've got the government nuked North Carolina twice.
Really?
Apparently so.
Didn't know that.
No, I'm sure it's still standing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's news to me now.
Possibly news to them as well, but...
This is Brandon Herrera, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not seen this guy before.
Not familiar with him. I've heard his name. Yeah, just not familiar with his content.
Looks an interesting background. Maybe he's a bit military and stuff like that.
That's a great background. Okay. I'd love that. I'd be crazy though, mate, with all that shit.
Yeah. And we were watching one if someone invaded the USA, and you have guys like this.
Yeah. People's houses like that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Should we get into this?
Yeah.
The government nuked North Carolina twice.
Mild stomping ground of North Carolina is known for many things. Beautiful mountains, relaxing beaches, methamphetamine abuse, and plenty of rich history dating back to before even the founding of this great nation. What you probably don't know, though, is that in the 1960s, the government accidentally nuked North Carolina. Twice. The military literally dropped 2 nukes on rural North Carolina by mistake. And somehow this isn't something that we all just know about. So in this video, I'm going to explain what happened, how it happened, and why the Tar Heel State isn't a giant Fallout server. So let's start from the beginning. It's the early 1960s, and I'm sure you're aware of what global crisis was center stage during this time period. That's right, John Lennon. But aside from that, we were in the middle of the Cold War. The United States was in a global standoff with the Soviet Union, trying to stop the spread of communism. It was espionage, proxy wars, and scariest of all, both sides were stockpiling nuclear weapons like it was going out of style. You see, after Oppenheimer did the whole I am become death, destroyer of worlds bit, apparently flabbergasted at the idea that his big fucking bomb that was designed to do big fucking bomb things was going to be used against the people it was specifically designed to blow up, nuclear weapons were emerging as the super weapon of a new age, a nuclear age, an age of fear. And again, the Beatles.
I like this guy.
So you would think that the United States government, now possessing a stockpile of these weapons that could potentially, end all fucking life on the planet, would be treating these weapons with the utmost care, ensuring that these weapons would never be treated carelessly in a way that could cause catastrophe and endanger the lives of civilians.
Oh, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
You don't know much about the government, do you?
Today we're talking about the time that America accidentally dropped a thermonuclear warhead on Greenland. Once upon a time in 1960, during the Cold War, America would receive intelligence that the Soviet Union had upwards of 300 intercontinental ballistic missiles. This meant that theoretically the Soviet Union had enough ICBMs to be able to take out every American airfield all at once.
Funny thing was, I was just going to say, he's very similar to the Fat Electrician.
Yeah,
that's what I was just thinking in my mind. Then he come on.
Gives you a bit of that vibe, doesn't it?
Meaning that America would not be able to scramble planes to go and return the favor, which violates the entire concept of the Cold War. The Cold War only remained cold due to the concept of MAD, or mutually assured destruction. Now, there's no longer mutually assured destruction, so America is open to a nuclear strike, and they need to do something immediately. Which is when the Air Force chimed in and is like, hey, I have a terrific idea. Let's take our new bomber, the B-52 Strato Fortress, aka the Buff, which clearly stands for Big Ugly Fat Fuck. We're going to throw a 1.1 megaton thermonuclear warhead in the back, and then we're just going to do hot laps around all of North America 24/7, all day, every day. And then if there is a nuclear strike, our nukes are already in the air, that plane will make a beeline to the USSR and they'll return the favor. To which the US government is like, wow, what a terrific idea. I'll take 12. They are now going to take 12 B-52s with 1.1 megaton thermonuclear warheads on board and just do hot laps around all of North America every minute of every hour of every day between 1960 and 1968. And we're going to call this Operation Chrome Dome. For 8 fucking years, the U.S. government is going to have 12 Buffy the Forehead Slayers doing death donuts around North America, carrying 1.1 megaton thermonuclear warheads, okay? And then they went ahead and decided to call it Operation Chrome Dome, because nothing says we're about to put nuclear warheads on foreheads like the phrase Chrome Dome. You might as well call it Operation Glass Your Entire Country. And I know what you're thinking, but wait a minute, the Cold War didn't end until 1991. Why on earth did this mission stop in 1968? Oh, it's because we accidentally dropped one of these nukes on Greenland. Yeah, while one of the B-52s was going around the east side of Canada, the heater malfunctioned, so one of the pilots had the brilliant idea that he was going to open up the vent to bleed heat directly from the engine manifold into the cabin to warm them up. Well, it proceeded to get so warm that it literally caught the upholstery of the chairs they were sitting on fire, lighting the entire cab on fire. All the pilots have to bail out. The plane goes down, then the conventional aspects of these nuclear bombs blows up on impact. The nuclear part didn't explode, thankfully. However, the conventional explosion was enough to spew radioactive material all over the fucking place. Because of that, a bunch of people got exposed to radioactive material, sparking a huge political controversy because Denmark, the owner of Greenland, comes out and they're like, the fuck? You're not even supposed to be here with nuclear weapons. What is happening right now? To which America kind of just replied, I mean, yeah, but also, we're America and you're Denmark. Fucking get over it. And then pretty much nothing happened from there, other than America ended Operation Chrome Dome. Thankfully, however, this was the only incident in 8 years. Well, except for that time we dropped a couple on North Carolina. And then that other time we dropped a couple on Maryland. And then that time we dropped some in California. And then there was that whole thing where we dropped some on Spain. But I think Brandon's going to tell you about those. So thanks for watching. Quack Bang out.
Thanks, Nick. I'll take it from here. That's my buddy, the Fat Electrician. He's one of actually my personal favorite creators and a great channel for those of you guys who also love military history. As for the Spain thing, yeah, we did do that. Dropped a couple of nukes on Spain, contaminated the
I
earth.
never heard this.
No, I've not.
And then
Not
lost
at all.
the fourth in the ocean for a while. The 60s were not a particularly good time for some of our diplomatic relationships.
The 60s weren't good to you, were they?
But anyhow, this video is specifically about the North Carolina incident because, to me personally, I think it's one of the wilder ones. Maybe we'll talk about some of the other ones later. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. After all, it's about what you guys want to see. Anyhow, back to story time. So the year is 1961, around midnight of January 23rd. A Boeing B-52 Stratofortress was flying over eastern North Carolina. This B-52 was based out of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. The name of the base is legitimately Seymour Johnson. If you've never heard of it, you just made the same joke in your head that everyone who was stationed there has made at some point. Anyhow, the payload that this particular B-52 was carrying was 2 Mark 39 nuclear bombs. There's some pretty serious hardware. These things weigh in at about 6,500 pounds apiece, or approximately 4 times as much as the average Austin feminist. These bombs had an explosive yield of 3.8 megatons. Doesn't sound too crazy, right? For those who don't know, 1 megaton is equal to 1 million tons of TNT. Not a million pounds, a million tons. TNT. The bomb that the United States dropped on Hiroshima that, depending on the source, killed around 100,000 people was only 15 kiloton. That means that the bombs we accidentally dropped on North Carolina were about 250 times more powerful than the one we used to fucking end World War II.
Absolutely incredible.
And this B-52 was carrying fucking 2 of them. Something worth nuking once. So back on the ranch, the B-52 was getting an aerial refueling. Aerial refueling, if you're not familiar, is when a mommy plane and a daddy plane love each other very much. So the daddy plane, basically it's a way of transferring fuel from one plane to the other to make sure that the plane that's being refueled doesn't have to land. It can just keep flying. But it was during this aerial refueling that the commander of the B-52 was informed that there was a fuel leak. Ground control was immediately informed of this leak, and the B-52 was instructed to abandon the aerial refueling and then go into a holding pattern off the coast of North Carolina to burn off the majority of its fuel. The only thing worse than an emergency landing of a giant aircraft is the emergency landing of a giant aircraft with 100,000 pounds of fuel on it.
Jeez,
Suboptimal.
Nuclear bomb.
That, and if something bad happens while it's in the air and it goes down off the coast. So you get more of like a Spain situation and less of Nagasaki Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. The only problem was when they got into position to begin this holding pattern, they realized that their problem had worsened. They had lost something along the lines of 37,000 pounds of fuel in 3 minutes. They were basically leaking 2 Ford F-150s weight in fuel every 60 seconds. Yes, Americans will use literally anything but the metric system. The crew knew that this was not sustainable and the plane was going down, so they tried turning back around. The only thing that these men wanted was to get back to Seymour Johnson. I'm sorry, I'm done, I promise. It quickly became clear that this plane was not going to make it back to base. This is when they decided to abandon the plane and bail out. Out of the original crew of 8, 1 didn't survive the parachute landing, and 2 died in the crash, leaving 5 total survivors. Interestingly enough, the third pilot, Lieutenant Adam Maddox, became the only person to ever successfully bail out of the top hatch of a B-52 without an ejection seat and survive. Not only did he survive, he went on to live a long, happy life. The plane itself ended up breaking up in mid-air about 1,000 to 2,000 feet above the ground. This left a debris field over a roughly 2 square mile area around Faro, North Carolina, which is like 20 minutes northeast of Goldsboro. The debris, of course, included, well, the 2 devices specifically designed to level entire cities. So what happened to the 2 nukes? Good news and fucking horrifying news. The good news is, miraculously, neither bomb detonated. One of them was able to parachute in a controlled manner down to the ground and was found standing upright with his parachute caught in a tree. The other, in a less controlled manner, slapped the earth at Mach fuck and buried itself. Thankfully, without detonating or even setting off the conventional explosives within the bomb itself. So neither bomb exploded and no innocent people on the ground were hurt. It's no big deal, right? Well, that leads us to the fucking horrifying part that I had mentioned earlier. This is the part that, for me, reading into this, made this particular case so interesting. Based on the information...
You don't think it's still buried there, do you, one of them?
I don't think so, no. They wouldn't... No chance.
They won't leave one. Imagine they couldn't, could they, because of terrorism, suppose, and stuff. 'Cause if it got out, then you have all sorts of people going after it, wouldn't you, I'm guessing?
Yeah, but that's mad that it's landed like that and buried itself.
It must have been shifting a bit, I tell you what.
Aren't they designed for, like, explosion on impact type thing?
That's what I thought. But clearly, they must have, like, detonators.
Something like that,
the normal explosives there that actually detonate off, but you'd think, like, a huge impact would sort of, like, do it. I thought that's how they exploded.
You see now, especially, I mean, I'm only talking for over here, but if you're over here, they found, like, an old World War II bomb that was unexploded.
Yeah.
And they closed the whole town off.
Yeah.
So there's no way they're leaving it there type thing. Not a nuclear bomb anyway.
No. You'd have to close the entire state, wouldn't you? At least.
That was recently declassified in 2013. We now know that both bombs almost detonated. And pretty much by all means should have leveled that part of eastern North Carolina. You see, as you might imagine, there are a number of safety mechanisms on a nuclear bomb. Depending on which report you read, there were either 4 or 6 safety mechanisms on these particular bombs. Why there's a discrepancy on that? Your guess is as good as mine. Here's the fucked part though. All of the bomb safety mechanisms were tripped and ready to blow, except for one. Now that is an oh fuck moment, but don't worry, it gets worse. The one safety that didn't fail was different on each bomb. That means there wasn't just one well-built safety mechanism on this thing and a bunch of jank ones. These 2 doomsday devices didn't go off because of fucking luck. That's like 2 people playing Russian roulette with 5 out of 6 cylinders loaded and somehow both survive. Anyhow, the first bomb that was standing upright with the parachute and all that was basically intact, so that was an easy recovery. So the recovery team was able to disarm it and send it on its way to... I actually have no idea where you send a slightly used nuke that just survived the crash landing. But the government took
Afghanistan summit.
You don't want to lose one of those. Again, the second bomb was a different story. It had broken apart in impact and was stuck in a pretty deep hole that it dug by lawn darting itself into the earth. It was so deep that the tail was the first part that was found, and that was found 20 feet down. And in digging around trying to find the rest of it, they accidentally hit an underground water reservoir, which could have made their job easier. Upon finding the majority of the second bomb, Lieutenant Jack Revell, who's the EOD officer in charge of recovery at the time, was quoted as saying, "Until my death, I will never forget hearing my sergeant say, 'Lieutenant, we found the arm safe switch.' And I said, 'Great.' He said, 'Not great. It's on arm.'" So, yeah, that's pretty sketch. I figure now's a pretty good time to give you a little context for where we're talking about here. In the year 1960, around 28,000 people lived in the city of Goldsboro alone. Had these devices gone off and leveled the town, instantly the death count would have been 10 times that of 9/11. And most locals don't even know that they were one sketchy rocker switch failure away from it.
Wow.
So like most
what a
Cold
lucky
War
escape.
stories of a catastrophic government fuck-up, we have a bit of a government cover-up story. Because, of course. So, the second...
A government cover-up story? I didn't think they existed.
Surely not. But fancy a government doing that. Perish the thought.
Yeah.
You'd think that they'd sort of have to at the time, wouldn't they, for fear from the local public and stuff. But,
But the other side of it is, how come all the switches are armed, apart from one on each one?
I know, but different ones.
Yeah, but who's arming them?
Yeah.
Right?
It was... Yeah.
How's that working?
I have no idea.
Strange story, this, isn't it?
Just a bit. Just a lot of luck involved as well.
Big time.
The bomb was never fully recovered. The thermonuclear stage of the bomb was basically left intact, although they did take the pit, or the core. This is the part that contains the uranium or plutonium that makes the nuke do the nuke thing. So with the core in hand, the government just called it good. Left the rest of it a nuclear weapon just chilling in the ground. Just a reminder, a lot of the things I'm talking about here were just declassified like 10 years ago. Letting it slip during the Cold War that the feds were losing nukes routinely and then just leaving half of them around because they got tired of digging. Not a great look. The Army did, however, purchase a 400-foot diameter easement on the property and forbid any structure from being built on top of it. Although they did say that the area is okay for farming. On top of an almost live nuclear weapon. I mean, this isn't nearly as bad as like Chernobyl levels of government cover-up, but it's
it's
alarmingly
not far short.
Yeah.
Now, this last bit I absolutely have to mention because I think it's fucking hilarious. It's like the perfect cherry on top of this story. This is the historical marker that marks this incident.
Nuclear mishap.
Is fucking hilarious. This was almost the worst nuclear disaster in human history. And the only reason you would ever know it happened is this little plaque.
Yeah.
That makes it sound like it is absolutely not as big of a deal as it definitely was. So yeah, that's how an entire section of North Carolina almost received a Darwin Award at the hands of the federal government. The same government that still has control over our nuclear arsenal and loses these things so often that they have a fucking term for it. Broken arrow. More like missing doomsday device, but, you know, hey, cool name. I know it's not our usual format, but I love learning about history almost as much as I love being able to share cool parts of that history with you guys. If you want to see more of this style of content, let me know. I think it's really fun. And if there's other specific things you'd like me to cover or cool history rabbit holes you'd like for me to go down, leave them down in the comments. I might just check them out. Be sure to subscribe for more, and of course for more gun videos, Darwin Awards, gun meme review, all the stuff you know we do. Anyhow, I appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed. And as always, I'll see you sexy YouTube mother lovers.
Yeah, I like this guy.
He's really good, wasn't he?
I'm going to go down the rabbit hole with this guy. Yeah, see what else he's got.
See what else he's done.
Yeah,
definitely.
like some of the topics he talks about is what I watch.
I like his little collab with a fat electrician as well.
I've heard his name. I've heard his name because I've heard him. Donut operator mention him.
Yeah. Did he?
So,
right. Okay.
So I think the three of them do like something together. Yeah, whether it's a podcast or something.
I know they've been on tour.
Yeah, they go shoot.
Donut operator mentioned that, didn't he? So maybe these guys have probably been with him now. I'm guessing.
He mentions it. Yeah.
So,
but I like it. I like the way he puts it across there. I enjoyed
that
video.
It was a
great video. That.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the US had to cover it up, didn't it? Because otherwise people think they're incompetent. But it makes you wonder.
What gets covered up?
What gets covered up? What Russia were covering up, and how many they lost. Moved to US. If it can happen to the US,
it's definitely happening to Russia.
It's definitely happening to Russia.
Well, Chernobyl was a.
There's one for you, yeah. But I mean, I'm sure in the 60s that things must have been happening exactly the same for the Russians, I'm guessing.
Big time. And it's like you said there, what else did he cover up anyway that we don't know about?
I mean, obviously for national security, sometimes you've got to, haven't you? You know, I get that. But some of the things that come out later on, you know, where they do release the information, it's like...
No, especially that plaque as well, right? What the fuck's that all about?
Widespread disaster diverted, apart from the three guys that died.
Yeah, but who put some up in memory of them sort of things. Yeah. But not like, don't put it like down as a mishap.
Yeah, don't worry, it's a bit of a mishap.
Nuclear mishap.
Don't worry about it. You know, these three guys died, but, you know, everything else was fine. You know, like I say, a bit of a, you know...
yeah. Well, thanks for that.
Amanda,
sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost forgot it was a request for the moment.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It was a good request. I enjoyed it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, good one.
I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.